President Trump, he promised to make America wealthy again. That's exactly what he's doing. The February jobs report shows manufacturing jobs up by 10,000, a complete reversal from Biden's America, where we lost an average of 9,000 manufacturing jobs every month. The White House press secretary put it perfectly. Our country has lost more than 5 million jobs, over 90,000 factories due to the devastating globalization over the last 3 decades. But the America Last globalist agenda is ending under President Trump. Even global corporations are taking notice, with Siemens just announcing a $10 billion investment in America specifically to avoid Trump's tariffs. And as we step into 2025, one thing is clear, de-dollarization is accelerating. China and other BRICS nations are scared of President Trump, making them more determined to reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar and establish themselves as economic superpowers. And their secret weapon is gold. China has resumed buying gold, and they're underreporting their purchases. They recognize gold's global value and ability to withstand economic shocks. Gold is tangible, reliable, and immune to economic manipulation. China and other BRICS countries want to be prepared, and they just don't want it known. But this is not just about nations, it's about you. In a world of shifting economic power, gold is your personal hedge against uncertainty, and Noble Gold investments can help secure your financial future. Visit nextnewsgold.com and learn more. And with a qualified account, receive 10 1-ounce silver American Eagle coins. That's nextnewsgold.com. Or the number on the screen is 877-646-5347. Okay. Let's get into it right now. Here is a report direct from the White House today. Matt Bailey live at the White House immediately following the press conference today.
Hey everybody, Matt Bailey here for Next News Network. Gary's at the home office and Tom will be here this week. But for now, it's an eventful start for the administration this week. Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, said that tomorrow we'll have some Irish fun in the run-up to St. Patrick's Day. And then on Thursday, the NATO General Secretary will be here for a working lunch with the president. She also touted the administration's success on immigration, saying that immigration is down 94% across the board. And Customs and Border Patrol has launched the new Home app with an intent to depart feature, which allows undocumented immigrants to let the government know that they intend to leave before ICE enforcement action is taken. Also on the immigration topic, she discussed at length the detention of Mahmoud Khalil, the recent Columbia University graduate who was arrested under Trump's executive order that anybody who participated in anti-Semitic violence on college campuses during the protests last spring should be detained and deported where possible. She was asked if Secretary Rubio has the authority to revoke a green card under that provision, and she said indeed he does under the Immigration Act. And on a fun note, President Trump will look at a Tesla today that's coming to the White House lawn, and he intends to buy it. In Washington, I'm Matt Bailey. Hey everybody,
all right, Matt, thank you for following that report for us.
Network.
We've got more to get to.
Gary's at the home office.
Hey, all right, will pause. Thank you. Mute. All right, here we go.
This week.
Keep going.
But for now, it's an eventful start for the administration this week.
All right, hang on.
Karoline Leavitt, the president.
There we go. Oh, my. I'm so sorry about that. All right. It was fireworks in the press room today. Karoline Leavitt slamming an AP reporter. Oh, this was a beautiful moment. Check this out.
When we have fair later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
They
don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
I now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Yeah, the Associated Press is still not in the official pool. So they're feeling a little slighted these days. Jack Posobiec posting, this is the AP weasel who snapped at Karoline Leavitt in the White House over tariffs. He's a career journalist with zero business experience, but attempted to go on a tirade as if he was some sort of expert. He doesn't even have a degree in economics. Here he is. Looks like he's on a plane, and he's wearing a mask, and he's wearing a tuxedo or something. I don't know. Okay, then we have this. Pillow swing 4 hours after President Trump escalated U.S. tariffs on Canada. Ontario has agreed to suspend 25% tariffs on electricity exports to the U.S. pending negotiations on a renewed USMCA trade deal. The art of the deal in action. And here is the message that he posted. Please see the joint statement from United States Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick and myself. Today, U.S. Secretary of Commerce and Premier Ontario Doug Ford have had a productive conversation about the economic relationship between the U.S. and Canada. And here he is pausing the surcharge on electricity. He thought he was actually going to hold us hostage. No, Canada caved.
Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. You know, with any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs, and rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail, rather than waiting.
No. You realize that America would just crush you, so that's why you backed off. That's what he's really trying to say. Here we have more on the continuing resolution. Here's the press secretary earlier today.
Continue to carry out. As President Trump made clear during his historic address to Congress, we must finish this job and continue to carry out the largest deportation campaign in American history. And that is why the president fully endorses the continuing resolution that is before Congress and was negotiated by Speaker Johnson. He is encouraging all Republicans to vote yes on this clean CR, which freezes funding at current levels and will prevent the Democrats from getting their long-awaited government shutdown. Voting against this CR will hurt the American people and kill the incredible momentum that President Trump has built over the past 51 days. As President
51 days, winning continues. Here we have more from the press secretary. She's talking about the fact that we have lost more than 5 million jobs and 90,000 factories due to globalization.
Our country has lost more than 5 million jobs and more than 90,000 factories due to devastating globalization over the last 3 decades alone. North Carolina lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs, including 60% of its furniture manufacturing jobs in the years following NAFTA. And in Michigan, globalist policies destroyed 250,000 jobs, including 40% of the auto industry, which again we know is clawing back because of President Trump's action already. These are harrowing statistics that represent countless towns and families who have been completely destroyed. But the America Last globalist era is ending under President Trump. He will no longer allow our country and our workers, our hard-working American families, to be ripped off.
No longer will we be ripped off, folks. President Trump is the adult in the room. Here we have, this is the jobs report, press secretary as well. Let's check it out.
On the economy, February's jobs report was good news for America, particularly our manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector gained 10,000 new jobs in just 1 month under President Trump. This rebound was led by the automobile sector, where we saw 9,000 new auto jobs created already. That is the most auto jobs added to the economy in 15 months. This was a complete turnaround from the Biden administration, where we were losing an average of 9,000 manufacturing jobs per month last year. Reuters is out with a report that a number of companies are now looking at expanding their presence or bringing their businesses into America because of President Trump's policies. And just moments ago, before coming out here, I saw another report by Reuters revealing that Merck has opened a $1 billion facility at its North Carolina site. This is just the latest pharmaceutical company to boost its U.S. manufacturing in lieu of President Trump's tariffs. This announcement follows Eli Lilly's plans to invest at least $27 billion to build 4 new manufacturing plants here in the United States. And Pfizer has also said it's considering moving their manufacturing overseas right here to the United States of America.
They want to avoid the tariffs, but it doesn't stop there. We've got more. Here is this is the new media seat. Sagar and Jetty was granted that privilege today. Let's listen in.
Time. There's a lot to unpack there. So let me start by saying that, first of all, when it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration. Joe Biden left this country in an economic disaster. Several statistics to point out. The delinquency rate on credit card loans increased 63% under Joe Biden, hitting a near 12-year high. Under Joe Biden, all net job growth went to foreign-born Americans. Real wages declined by 1.5% under Joe Biden. And as we all know, and this administration continues to combat, prices soared more than 20% under Joe Biden because of his reckless spending and economic policies. So we are in a period of transition from that economic nightmare under a president who had no idea what he was doing, never held a private sector job in his life, into a golden age of American manufacturing under a businessman and a deal maker in chief in President Donald J. Trump, who is implementing the formula that we know works. Look at President Trump's results in his first term. If people are looking for certainty, they should look at the record of this president. That's why the American people reelected him back to this office. And look at everything that President Trump has already done and his team has already done in just 51 days. The massive efforts to deregulate, tax cuts, which we need Congress to pass the Trump economic agenda, the Trump tax cuts, which will unleash economic growth. And the president also addressed this directly, I will point out as well, when you look at what he said on Air Force One, and he said he wants the American people to have so much money in their pockets they don't even know what to do with it. That's the intent of this administration, and we're working very hard every day on that goal.
Second question.
There's a lot.
Yeah, let's go, baby. We've got more. Let's continue the winning. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is the question about fair trade.
I'm glad you brought up workers, because that's exactly who President Trump is looking out for with his America First trade policy and his America First economic agenda. And if you look at, there's great indication to be optimistic about where the economy stands. And the American people, investors, CEOs, small business owners, but most importantly, workers, should bet on President Trump, because his tariff policies, what he envisions is reciprocity, fair trade practices where American workers are put first and are no longer ripped off by foreign countries all over this world.
Yep, no longer getting ripped off, folks. And here we have Speaker Johnson. And here's what he's saying about the government shutdown.
Participate in this. They're planning to vote down the simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this. It looks like that would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing. But it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns. I put a video out about an hour ago on social media. I encourage you to go see that. They have been their own words. You don't need to trust us on this. But Catherine Clark, here's one little zinger from her, quote, "Not only is it irresponsible and purposefully misleading, but it's also a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown," unquote. Now remember, this is in last year, years past. Pramila Jayapal, quote, "The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It's the employees who are going to suffer," unquote. AOC, quote, "It is not normal to hold 100,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want," unquote. I don't think I've ever agreed with her before. She's exactly right. Jerry Nadler said, quote, "Shutdown is really an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage." Yeah, we agree. So they and all their colleagues need to do the right thing. Democrats have been insisting they're fighting for federal workers. You're about to see, again, on vivid display, very clear the contrast. You will see one team that is working to fund the government and make sure we do the responsible thing. And you're going to see another posing to CR because they've now exposed the truth. They're not for federal workers. They're not for anyone. All the people they've said in the past that are going to be harmed would be by their votes. They're using federal employees as props. They're using Medicaid benefits and Social Security checks as cudgels in this thing. The threat of government shutdown, they're using it as some sort of attempt to wrestle power away from the President of the United States, who overwhelmingly won the popular vote, the Electoral College, in every single swing state. Here's the bottom line. If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government. They're planning to...
Yeah. Isn't that funny? How they just flip-flop when it's convenient for them. Speaker Johnson exposing them all. And we have more. Here is... Okay, this is about the tariffs and the position of the president and the rhetoric of Canada.
Due to the escalation. As for the tariffs, the president made his position on this quite clear with the statement that he put out. And it was a retaliatory statement due to the escalation of rhetoric that we've seen out of Ontario, Canada. The president saw the premier, Doug Ford, make an egregious and insulting comment threatening to shut down electricity for the American people, for hardworking American families. He made that threat. The president saw that and has an obligation and a responsibility to respond accordingly and represent the interests of the American people. So he has made the decision to add a 25% tariff. So now steel and aluminum tariffs will come into effect tomorrow at the rate of 50%. And our steel and aluminum industries have actually applauded these tariffs because, again, they know it's going to grow their industry here. It's going to allow them to export more steel that is made right here in the United States with American workers. And
of course, Doug Ford caved in Canada today. Here is... Okay, we have more. This is about 4 hours ago on the tariff seesaw with Canada.
Going to tax. Well, things change, don't they? Ontario Premier Doug Ford, up in Canada, has decided he's not going to tax the United States residents and electrical users 25%. He had a conversation with our Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and they both decided it would be in the best interest of both countries not for Ford to do that.
In the best interest of both countries. Here we have, are you curious about the price of eggs?
A good piece of news we just got in the last, we're more focused on how we bring the price of eggs down in the avian bird flu for everyone. A good piece of news we just got in the last day or two is that the average cost of a dozen eggs has now gone down $1.85 since we announced our plan about a week and a half ago on February the 26th. So listen, we're going into Easter season. This is always the highest price for eggs. We're more focused on how we bring the price of eggs down.
Easter season and eggs, yeah, right?
Avian bird flu.
Okay, let's see. We got more. Here is...
The thing is that the markets aren't taken into account. The thing is that the market...
I don't know what's wrong with these clips
today. I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product.
Aren't taken into account, my view. The thing is that...
Okay, let me set this up. Some goodies coming, lower taxes, less regulation, and less fentanyl.
The markets aren't taken into account, my view, and I think this is pretty much backed up by everybody I'm speaking to, is that there's there's some goodies coming, right? Lower taxes, less regulation, less fentanyl in this country because we closed the borders, which is going to be good for the economy. Less immigration, which means you don't have illegal immigrants clouding our healthcare system. All this is happening right now, and it's not being factored into the market. So I would just say this, if you're looking at this sort of broadly, this is a puke. It
Technical
we
term.
need to get some of this out of our system.
It's a puke. The market is puking. All right. Here we have President Trump, and when he bought his Tesla today.
Hello, President Trump. Are you looking to buy or lease today?
Well, I'm going to buy, and I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets, and number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot. And he's a great patriot. And he's also done an incredible job with Tesla. And I mean, nobody else has a car company started up in the last 30 years that's been successful. I don't think so. And not only successful, but super successful. And because he's able to find billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud and waste and all of the things. I mean, our country is going to be very strong very soon because of a lot of the things that he's done and a lot of the things that I'm doing. And there's no better team, but there's no better for what we're doing. There's nobody like this, and he shouldn't be penalized. And when I watched the other day, I said, I can't believe it. It should be the opposite. People should be going wild, and they love the product, but because he's finding all sorts of terrible things that have taken place against our country, they want to penalize him in an economic sense. And I just think that's very unfair. So I just wanted to make a statement. I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time. And I love
It's a good thing those are self-driving cars, am I right?
to drive cars. But I'm going to have it at the White House, and I'm going to let my staff use it. I'm going to let people at the place use it. And they all are all excited about that. I'm not allowed to use it. Can you believe it? One of my great things in life is that I can, I like to drive cars, but I'm not allowed to.
Hello, President.
Well, like I said, this is a self-driving car. Here we have more Secretary Rollins, how we're protecting and elevating our farmers.
And even, listen, the president has been intensely focused on how we protect and elevate and even take our farmers into a new day of prosperity. My very first phone call after I was sworn in was with President Trump, and that was his #1 message, was tell the farmers I love them and I am with them, and that we will use, talking about tools in the toolkit, we will use every tool that we have as we move into the next few months, the next year and beyond, to ensure that our farmers are protected. I'm in conversations all day, every day, to ensure that that happens. But Dana, I think one of the most important things that we will need to do, but it also goes back to the Biden administration, is in the last 4 years, we moved from a $0 deficit to a $49 billion trade deficit with our ag products. I mean, think about all of the farming community, but especially our family farms. Just that tiny margin of losing that export opportunity is huge. So part of my job, I was on two significant meetings yesterday. I'm going to be moving out across the world in the coming months, working on behalf and alongside our trade leaders here in this White House, with President Trump, with Vice President Vance, to open the markets back up and to get.
Markets are opening back up and farms are becoming great again. Here's President Trump. I think this is a similar clip.
My whole staff is so excited because I told them they're going to safely use them, and they can't believe it. So Margot, wherever you are, Margot, she's going to use it. They're all going to be using it, and they're going to have a good time using it. And if I can, oh, there you are, Margot. Look at Margot's right there. What are you, a member of the press now? I think she's become a member of the press. Takes great pictures. What do you think of it, Margot? Do you like the idea?
I love it.
Okay, good.
We're going to have fun.
They're very happy.
Mr. President, your comments the other day not ruling out a potential recession.
Okay, and we have more. Let's see. Here's President Trump on the stock market.
There are some folks, and what is your message, President Trump, buying a new car while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead?
Well, I think...
Okay, that is the Prince of Fox News, Peter Ducey. I don't know what was up with that guy today. Yeah, okay, the markets are down. They're going to bounce back. Don't worry. But he's trying to say that, what is Trump doing? Buying a Tesla when people are suffering. Well, I mean, President Trump's a billionaire, and I think he can afford a Tesla, so I don't see what the big deal is, really. Anyway, let's continue.
To do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And then we had COVID, which we had to straighten out. So I didn't want to be doing anything with respect to other countries at that time. And we did a great job with it. We handed the stock market over. It was higher than it ever was And think of that, higher than it ever was to that point before. And nobody thought that was even possible. We did a great job, but we had the greatest economy in history. This economy, in my opinion, is going to blow it away. But what I have to do is I have to get the workers back. I have to get the factories open. We have 90,000 factories and plants are closed from what you had just prior to NAFTA, which is not very long ago. 90,000, think of it, 90,000 factories and plants are closed from what it was, and it's just not right. So, and we gave it away. Presidents before me gave it away, and I could name every one of them. But they gave it away, and we're taking it back. We're taking
it all back, baby. Here we have Education Secretary McMahon talking about high school students graduating. Yeah, pretty soon the Department of Education will be no more, thank God.
And well, I can tell you my focus is as the Secretary of Education. So I am focusing on colleges, universities, K through 12 schools, and that's where we're really putting our focus. The president has been very clear that he wants to make sure that the recent scores that we have seen with our students, when high school students graduating, only 30% of them can read with proficiency. That means 70% can't. When we look at 8th graders who are not proficient in math or reading, we have to do something about this in our country, and we are spending more per pupil than any other country, and we have the lowest results for that. We're doing something wrong, and clearly we want to take the bureaucracy out of the Department of Education and make sure that our states are prepared to have the tools that they need and best practices to really teach their students. Let's let teachers teach. You know, I think teaching is one of the most noble professions that there is, and I think our teachers need to be paid and supported, protected, and allowed to teach in schools and not be bogged down by red tape. And let them teach, because when they do, they understand their classrooms. The best teaching is that closest to the students, and I think we're going to see improvements in our scores when we get the bureaucracy of the Department of Education out of the way.
Yeah, there's no need for the Department of Education. We do not need to be sending talking points down from the federal government to the local level. It completely is the antithesis of this American experiment. And then there was this moment today. This is going viral. Chaos erupting at a hearing when Texas Representative Keith Self referred to Delaware Representative Sarah McBride as Congressman McBride. Representative Self says he's following the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. If you remember, during the joint address to Congress, President Trump made that declaration. And here's the declaration in action and fireworks. Wait till you see this.
But this is not. As the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please? Yes, we have set the standard on the floor.
Okay, so he says, Mr. McBride. And then McBride says, thank you, Madam Chair. And look who gets reprimanded.
As the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam.
As the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please? Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply. What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please. I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride. Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent. We will continue this. You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
You notice how he did not declare the individual's gender. He said duly elected representative. Now, if he was really going to be standing up for McBride, he would have said her, but he didn't. Listen.
But this is not decent. We will continue this. You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way. This hearing is adjourned.
And that's a wrap on that one. Yeah, fireworks there. Here we have White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. He's on News Nation. He's doing a news hit there. I got to ask him a question last week. How cool was that? Let's listen to what's going on here.
President Trump it's our job under President Trump's leadership to fix the economy, to stop 4 years of bleeding. Joe Biden left us with an economic nightmare of inflation and joblessness that President Trump is fixing. I don't think you appreciate, Blake, the magnitude of what President Trump is in the process of repairing. We have an unsustainable defense commitment around the world that is bleeding our defense budget dry. We have critical manufacturing and supply chains like chips and semiconductors that are housed almost entirely in foreign countries. Other countries could shut the lights off on America unless we bring these critical supply chains home. Not to mention rare earth minerals, in which we are again dependent on foreign countries for essential minerals that we need to power this nation. President Trump has inherited a country that was on the path to economic oblivion. $36 trillion in debt, unsustainable growth in government spending, and the shuttering of American energy. He is one by one fixing each and every one of these crises, not to mention, as I said earlier, the fact that illegal aliens and foreign workers are consuming all the jobs and driving up the deficit by consuming government benefits.
So let me ask you about...
That is what he is fixing, and that's why his policies are overwhelmingly popular with the American public.
I love Stephen Miller, man. He's a badass. Here is a photograph. President Trump behind the wheel of a Tesla. Look at Elon Musk. Looks like he's wearing some crazy sunglasses, too. Nice. Get in, Patriots. We have a country to save. Elon Musk helps President Trump pick his new Tesla. That's an official post from the White House. We have more. Will Cain reacting to the latest jobs report.
First time the Bureau of Labor Statistics reporting that the economy added, wait for it, 151,000 jobs in February. Now, when you dig in farther than, sort of the headlines, you really find something important. The real story here, and that's what the Heritage Foundation found, first time in 15 months, annual job growth among native-born Americans exceeded that of foreign-born workers. That is a wow. And finally, when it comes to the border, yeah, really, truly.
That is big,
finally,
Kevin. That's big.
For you. It is
well,
big.
Hold on, that's big. That is the point of an economy, is to grow jobs for people that live in America, not for people who might move to America. That's a supplementary side of the economy. Native-born job growth? Good.
And that's what the president's trying to do, Will. Remember, he talks about bringing jobs back so that your neighbors and my neighbors can have a family, have a home, have a job, and that's a good thing. The Bureau of Labor.
It is a good thing, isn't it? If you look at the rates of tariffs across the board, Canadians have been imposing on American people or workers. Here, let's listen.
Tariffs across Canada have been ripping off the United States of America and hardworking Americans for decades. If you look at the rates of tariffs across the board that Canadians have been imposing on the American people and our workers here, it is egregious. In fact, I have a handy-dandy chart here that shows not just Canada, but the rate of tariffs across the board. If you look at Canada, since you brought it up, American cheese and butter, nearly 300% tariff. You look at India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. You think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? I don't think so. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India. Look at Japan, tariffing rice, 700%. President Trump believes in reciprocity, and it is about dang time that we have a president who actually looks out for the interests of American businesses and workers. And all he's asking for at the end of the day are fair and balanced trade practices, and unfortunately, Canada has not been treating us very fairly at all over the past several decades.
Wow, reciprocity is going to be a bitch. Here we have more, I think. Okay, here she is on RSBN. This is the same press conference talking about what happens when we purchase products here.
The jobs, as the president has said over and over again, when we purchase products made in the USA, the profits stay here, the revenue stays here, and most importantly, the jobs stay here. And despite the globalist mainstream media's attempts to worry consumers, President Trump will not repeat the trend of past American presidents who broke their promises to the American public and smiled while they stuck a knife in the back of American workers and shipped their jobs overseas. Our country has lost more than 5 million jobs and more than 90,000 factories due to devastating globalization over the last 3 decades alone. North Carolina lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs, including 60% of its furniture manufacturing jobs in the years following NAFTA. And in Michigan, globalist policies destroyed 250,000 jobs, including 40% of the auto industry, which again we know is clawing back because of President Trump's action.
We played that clip earlier, but it is clear President Trump is going to be protecting Social Security.
And Medicaid. President Trump has been unequivocally clear on this. He is going to protect Social Security and Medicare benefits and Medicaid for hardworking Americans who paid into these entitlement programs and deserve those hard-earned benefits. And unfortunately, the mainstream media has taken Mr. Musk out of context. I saw a Bloomberg headline that our team actually worked on getting updated and fixed because it was so wrong, and it took Mr. Musk out of context. What he was specifically referring to cutting was the waste and the fraud and abuse that does exist in these programs. According to an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there's more than $70 billion of fraud in the Social Security program alone that we know of. And so the president will continue to protect these programs for hardworking Americans, and actually cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse out of these programs will protect it for hardworking Americans.
But Karoline, respectfully, he said around $500 to $700 billion. There was no evidence to claim that. And also, if that is the case, that would represent more than a third of what Social Security paid out last year, maybe 20% of Social Security and Medicare.
Again, if you read his full quote, he said, "We think." So it's an estimate based on what he's seen. He's not saying definitively. He's saying that's what DOJ suspects and thinks. And that's exactly why DOJ was created, to ensure that we are investigating the fraudulent spending, the wasteful abuse across our federal government. And I would remind everybody in this room that 77% of the American people support this effort by Elon Musk and DOJ to identify such waste, fraud, and abuse. President.
Oh, yeah, I support it. Ain't that the truth? Okay, the price of eggs. Okay, did we cover this yet? I think we did. Let's just check in, because I know we covered the eggs on the other.
We definitely do share the concerns of the American people when it comes to the price of eggs. However, good news, the average cost of a dozen eggs is actually down since Secretary Rollins and President Trump announced their plan. It's down $1.85. So that's good news on the cost of eggs. And as we know, under the Biden administration, egg prices went up 22%. This is another example of an economic mess that President Trump inherited, and the Secretary of Agriculture and the President are focused on fixing it. Secretary Rollins put out a 4-point plan rather, to address this crisis. And she has been honest and realistic with the American people, as this administration always is. It will take about 3 to 6 months to get the egg supply back to where it should be. But she's focused, and this administration is focused on doing that every day.
President Trump making eggs great again. That's right. In case someone says Trump started the tariffs, here are the Canadian tariffs on U.S. products that existed prior to 2025. Dairy products over USMCA quotas. Milk up 241%. Cheese up 245.5%. Butter up almost 300. Yogurt almost 250. Cream up to 270. Poultry, chicken, turkey, poultry fat, 238, 182, 249, eggs and egg products, shell eggs, processed eggs, 163.5, 238, softwood lumber. I mean, these are all of the tariffs that Canada is taking advantage of us. So it's time for reciprocity, and that's exactly what is going to happen, as of course Canada has folded. Here we have a major German company announcing $10 billion investment in the United States.
If you want to electrify,
what are you going to be doing in that shiny new plant behind you?
So this plant behind me is producing switchboards. So if you want to electrify a data center, you need switchboards. And this is a huge demand. Each customer has a little bit of a different one, and this one assembles really perfectly to the quality needs switchboards for data center customers, but they go also in other places.
Can I just ask you for some clarity here? Are these bolt-ons or additions, add-ons to existing plants? I just want it to be clear for our viewers.
This is a very new plant. So we have another plant nearby in Grand Prairie. This one in Fort Worth is a brand new one. We, along with Bonoma, we invested almost $300 million. This will create 900 new jobs. These are new capacities which we are building up to serve the demand of our customers, which is increasing, as you can imagine, because data centers are mushrooming because of AI technology, needs all that compute. And we are taking care that they can go up and running.
I just wanted to tell you, as you know, the big word of the day here is tariffs, and President Trump has threatened very seriously to slap 25% tariffs on all European goods coming into the United States. He calls them reciprocal tariffs. Does your build out here in the United States help you dodge some of that or mitigate some of the pain from that?
Yeah, it does, definitively. And I can understand the logic, which is all fair, having a level playing field, that's good. Bringing manufacturing back to the United States, creating jobs, that's good, but also having technological leadership, which is the motivation behind. So I can tick the box in all aspects. Sometimes the speed is a little bit of a challenge because you need to relocate manufacturing. That takes a little bit of time. But we did that in the past, and we will continue to do it in the future. So we are local for local.
There we go, baby. $10 billion from Siemens right there. It's happening. Here's President Trump. David Friedberg predicts Trump's master plan. Listen.
If I were to, I don't sit inside of Trump's head, and I don't have any direct line of communication to folks that are constructing the theory and the policy. If I were to say, what's the most masterful plan in an optimistic way of what could be going on here, I would kind of craft it as follows. Tariffs aren't being done in isolation. They're being done along with a coordinated policy effort to reduce income taxes and another policy effort to reduce government spending. So those are three legs on a stool. Tariffs, reduced income taxes, reduced government spending. They're related to each other because if we increase tariffs to import products is more expensive, when the industrial supply chain goes to the lowest part of production, it's going to end up offshoring when there's no tariffs. And if there are tariffs, then you start to do production here. So you're increasing both security for the U.S. supply chain, but also increasing demand and creation of a workforce. I think that the income tax piece is critical here because in order to make the capital available to build that industry here, we need to unleash capital, and reducing of income taxes, the economic theory would be that capital will now flow into these entrepreneurial activity, these opportunities that have emerged, where suddenly it makes sense for me to make textiles, to make metals, to make materials, to make cars, to make all this stuff here in the United States that I otherwise wouldn't be making. So both the corporate and the personal income tax, by reducing it, unleashes capital that instead of going into the government, it now goes into the private sector, into building businesses. By reducing government spending, we are moving workers from the government into the private workforce. So as those new industries pop up, as those investments start to get made in building new industry onshore, where are the workers going to come from? That will unleash the workforce, and it will counterbalance the inflation that we're experiencing. So there's a lot of inflation because of tariffs, and by reducing government spending, that's the offset to inflation. So those three actions, I think, are three legs of a stool, and they actually are all interrelated to one another. So that would be my grand master theory of what might be going on.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what we're witnessing is nothing short of an American economic renaissance. The globalists told us manufacturing would never return. The experts said tariffs would destroy the economy. The Democrats claimed that Trump's policies would fail, and they were wrong on all counts. American factories are reopening. American workers are being rehired, and American products are in demand worldwide. President Trump promised to put America first, and he's delivering. But here's the real question. Why did the previous administration allow millions of American jobs to be shipped overseas in the first place? Were they serving the globalist interests instead of American interests? Drop a comment below. Grab your exclusive Next News t-shirt or hat at our merch shop and show your support for this economic revival.